Mythology tells fascinating stories. Stories of gods and goddesses, heroes and villains, monsters and magic. In this video, we will explore some of the most remarkable mythological figures from around the world. We'll discover their origins, their powers, and their legendary deeds. Join us on this journey as we dive into the rich and diverse world of mythology. Zeus is one of the most important and powerful gods in Greek mythology. He is known as the king of gods and was revered as a god of the sky, thunder, and lightning. He is considered to be the most significant out of all the Greek gods. But who were his parents, and how did he come to be the king of gods? According to Greek mythology, Zeus was the son of Cronus and Rhea. Cronus, who was also a powerful god, had overthrown his father, Uranus, the god of the sky. However, he knew that one of his own children would eventually overthrow him. To prevent this, he swallowed his first 5 children whole, but Rhea, his wife, managed to save Zeus by giving Cronus a stone wrapped in a cloth to swallow instead. Zeus was then raised in secret until he was old enough to challenge his father. With the help of his siblings, Zeus overthrew Cronus and became the king of gods. Zeus was considered the most powerful of all Greek gods. He was the god of the sky, thunder, and lightning, and his power was felt throughout the world. He was often depicted as a mighty figure holding a thunderbolt, which he would use to create lightning and thunderstorms. Greek mythology states that Zeus lived in a palace on Mount Olympus, surrounded by his family and other gods who respected and feared him. As the king of gods, Zeus believed in justice and would often act as a judge in disputes between other gods and mortals. He was also known for his numerous romantic liaisons with both mortal women and goddesses. These relationships often resulted in the birth of demigods, who possessed both human and divine qualities. One of Zeus' most famous personalities was Hades, the god of the underworld. Hades ruled over the souls of the dead, and was feared by gods and mortals alike. It's said that the lightning bolts used by Zeus were created by the Cyclops, and he was also known for possessing the Aegis, a shield that would strike terror into the hearts of his enemies. Despite his power, Zeus was not an infallible god, and he would often make mistakes that would have serious consequences for both humans and other gods. Zeus was a key figure in many Greek myths and legends, and his stories continue to captivate people even today. One of the most famous legends surrounding Zeus is the story of the Titanomachy, in which Zeus led a group of gods and titans in a great war to overthrow the ruling titans and claim the throne of Mount Olympus. Another popular myth about Zeus is the story of his birth, in which Rhea hid Zeus from Cronus by wrapping a stone in a cloth and giving it to him to swallow, while secretly raising Zeus in Crete. Zeus is also known for his many romantic relationships, which often led to him fathering numerous children, both mortal and divine. One of the most famous of these children was Hercules, a hero who was said to have descended from Zeus and who went on to have legendary adventures of his own. In addition, Zeus was also responsible for managing the seasons and the weather, and he often used his powers to create devastating storms or to calm raging seas. One of the most intriguing Zeus myths is the one about the oracle at Dodona, where Zeus was believed to communicate directly with worshippers through the rustling of oak leaves in the wind. Stories about Zeus continue to inspire fascination and awe, and will continue to be retold for generations to come. Odin is a powerful god in Norse mythology, revered for his wisdom and poetry, as well as his skills in war and death. According to legend, Odin and his brothers, Vili and Ve, created the universe out of the remains of the giant, Ymir. Odin himself came from the region of Asgard, where the Viking gods resided. There, he ascended to the throne after defeating his predecessor, Ymir. Odin is also known for his powerful shape-shifting ability, often being depicted as a one-eyed old man with a long gray beard, or as a tall and handsome young man. His shape-shifting abilities can be attributed to an incident wherein he drinks from the well of wisdom, sacrificing one of his eyes in exchange for knowledge. Odin's 2 ravens, Hugin and Munin, fly around the world and bring him information, acting as his eyes and ears. From his throne, Odin would observe and watch over his people, as well as other gods and goddesses. Odin was also known for his love of poetry, and resembled a traditional Norse skald in his ability to compose vivid, powerful and expressive verses. There are many stories associated with Odin, revealing him to be a complex and multifaceted god, and an essential part of Norse mythology. Odin was revered in Norse mythology for his many roles and abilities. He was the god of war and death, and he would choose which warriors would die in battle and taken to Valhalla, where they would be honored for their bravery. He was a complex god of wisdom, known for his ability to see the future and communicate with the dead. Odin was also a god of magic and spells, and he would use his power to influence and shift the course of events in life and death. Odin's spear, Gungnir, was a powerful weapon that never missed its target, and he rode an 8-legged horse called Sleipnir. Odin's abilities were not only limited to warfare and death, he was also a god of healing, able to cure blindness and diseases. His wife, Frigg, was also an important goddess in Norse mythology, and she was known as the goddess of love and fertility. Odin and Frigg had many powerful children, including Thor, who would become one of the most famous Norse gods. There are many legends and stories associated with Odin in Norse mythology. One of the most well-known involves the creation of the world, where Odin and his brothers slay the giant Ymir and use his body to create the world. Another popular legend tells of Odin's adventures to obtain knowledge, including his hanging from the world tree, Yggdrasil, for 9 days and nights in exchange for the secrets of the runes. Odin is also associated with the story of the Valkyries, who were responsible for choosing which warriors would die in battle and be carried to Valhalla, where they would feast and fight for eternity. Odin was also known for his many guises, appearing as an old man to the wandering hero, Sigurd, and as a giant to the trickster god, Thor. He was also known for his wisdom, and his advice was often sought out by fellow gods and mortals alike. One of the most famous stories involving Odin is his journey to Jotunheim, the land of the giants, to obtain the mead of poetry. This mead gave Odin and the other gods poetic inspiration and the ability to create powerful songs and stories. Anansi, the spider god and trickster, originates in West African folklore. There are many different stories about Anansi, but his roots can be traced back to the Ashanti people of present-day Ghana. According to legend, Anansi was a son of Niam, the sky god. He was known for his cleverness, his ability to outwit his enemies, and his love of mischief. In some stories, Anansi is portrayed as a small and quick-witted creature, while in others he is depicted as a man with spider-like qualities. From his home in the sky, Anansi would sometimes descend to Earth to interact with mortals and cause trouble. In some versions of the story, Anansi is even credited with creating the sun and the moon. While Anansi has become a beloved figure in many African cultures, his story has also spread to other parts of the world, including the Caribbean and the Americas. Today, Anansi is often seen as a symbol of creativity, intelligence, and the importance of using one's wits to solve problems. One of the most fascinating aspects of Anansi's character is his deviousness and cleverness. Anansi often uses his wit to trick or outsmart his opponents, rather than relying on brute force. He is known for his ability to take on different personas and change his appearance in order to deceive others. In many stories, Anansi is able to outsmart much larger or stronger animals by exploiting their weaknesses or making them look foolish. For example, in one story Anansi tricks elephant and hippopotamus into believing that only the tallest and strongest animals are allowed to eat leaves from a particular tree, causing them to fight over who gets to eat. Anansi then sneaks in and steals the leaves while they are distracted. Another story tells of Anansi tricking the sky god Niam into trading all of his stories and wisdom for a single spider, which causes Niam to regret his decision when he realizes the extent of Anansi's trickery. Despite his sometimes selfish nature, Anansi is appreciated for his ability to use his intelligence to achieve his goals and outwit his opponents. Even though Anansi's stories have been around for centuries, his legacy continues to be felt in modern times. Anansi has become a popular figure in various forms of media, including literature, film, and television. For example, the character of Anansi appears in the American Gods book and television series as a clever and manipulative god. The Spider-Man comics also drew inspiration from Anansi's character, with the character of Spider-Man often using his intelligence to outsmart his enemies. Additionally, Anansi's stories have been adapted into plays and musicals, and his influence can even be seen in modern hip-hop music, with Anansi serving as a symbol of street smarts and resourcefulness. Anansi's character's enduring popularity speaks to his universal appeal, as many people still identify with his quick wit, cleverness and adaptability. His stories also continue to pass down important cultural values and morals from generation to generation. Kali is a goddess from the Hindu religion who is described as being the goddess of destruction and creation. The exact origins of Kali in Hindu mythology are somewhat obscure and difficult to trace. In some stories, Kali is said to have sprung from the forehead of the goddess Durga, while in others, she is described as a manifestation of the goddess Parvati. Regardless of her precise origins, Kali has become an important figure in the Hindu pantheon, and many devotees worship her as a powerful and protective deity. One of the most striking characteristics of Kali is her dual nature. On the one hand, she is considered a fierce and vengeful deity who is willing to unleash her wrath on those who threaten her devotees. In some Hindu stories, she is even said to have defeated demons by drinking their blood. However, Kali is also seen as a compassionate and nurturing mother figure, and many devotees see her as a source of love and protection. This seemingly contradictory nature of Kali has made her a complex and multifaceted figure who has different meanings for different people. Some see her as a symbol of power and strength, while others see her as a source of comfort and healing. The symbols and depictions of Kali are an important part of her mythology and her worship. One of the most striking visual representations of Kali is her appearance, which often features her wielding weapons like swords, spears, and a severed head. She is sometimes depicted with multiple arms, which symbolize her power and strength. Kali is also often depicted standing on a male figure, which represents the triumph of the divine feminine over the masculine. Another important symbol associated with Kali is the garland of skulls she wears, which symbolizes the impermanence of life and the ultimate triumph of death. Quetzalcoatl is one of the most venerated gods in Aztec mythology. The Aztecs believed that he was a creator god and he had a major role in the history of the Aztec Empire. Quetzalcoatl was an Aztec god of intelligence, learning, creation, and fertility. He was also the god of the morning and evening star. The word, Quetzalcoatl, itself means, feathered serpent, which is an apartment description for this god. There are several stories about the origins of Quetzalcoatl. One story says that he was born to a virgin named Chamalman, who was impregnated by a ball of feathers. Another story suggests that he was created from the remains of the god Ometecutli after the Aztec gods had a drunken orgy. However, the most widely believed story is that Quetzalcoatl was one of the four sons of the god Ometecutli and the goddess Omecihuatl. This story suggests that Quetzalcoatl was a divinely created god who played a significant role in Aztec mythology. Quetzalcoatl was associated with the wind, and the Aztecs believed that he had control over the elements. He was also known as a sky god and a god of creation. Quetzalcoatl was often depicted as a combination of a bird and serpent, and he was sometimes depicted as a man with a beak-like nose. He was a popular god among the Aztecs, and his influence can still be seen in Mexican culture today. Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent god, was one of the most complex and significant gods in the Aztec pantheon. He was a god of many aspects and attributes. Some of his key attributes include life, fertility, creation, intelligence, and learning. He was also associated with the wind, and he was believed to bring rains and thunderstorms. Quetzalcoatl was also known as the god of the morning and evening star. The feathered serpent god was often depicted as a combination of a serpent and a bird, with feathers and wings. This representation reflected his dual nature, representing both the earthly and spiritual realms. Some legends also suggest that he had the ability to fly and transform himself into other creatures. Quetzalcoatl played a significant role in Aztec mythology. According to Aztec mythology, Quetzalcoatl created mankind and taught them various skills such as agriculture, pottery, and metallurgy. He also taught the Aztecs about art, religion, and science. The Aztecs believed that Quetzalcoatl was the patron of the arts and crafts, and many of their works of art depict him in various forms. Quetzalcoatl was revered by the Aztecs, and he was worshipped in many parts of Mesoamerica. The god was also a significant figure in other cultures such as the Maya and the Toltecs. The worship of Quetzalcoatl was so widespread that different versions of him existed across Mesoamerica. For example, in the Maya culture, the feathered serpent was known as Kukulkan, while in the Toltec culture, he was known as Quetzalcoatl. Even today, Quetzalcoatl continues to be a prominent figure in Mexican culture and mythology. Quetzalcoatl was a generous god who ensured the well-being of his followers. He was very instrumental in teaching the Aztecs various skills and sciences. According to Aztec mythology, Quetzalcoatl was responsible for teaching the Aztecs about agriculture, weaving, calendar making, medicine, and many more things. The Aztecs believed that these teachings were a gift from the god Quetzalcoatl to humanity to help them live better lives. Quetzalcoatl was also the patron of art, science and learning. The Aztecs believed that he was responsible for the creation of the arts, and art was an important part of their worship of the god. They created many paintings and sculptures to represent Quetzalcoatl, and many of them are still preserved in museums today. The Aztecs also believed that Quetzalcoatl guided them through the heavens and showed them the way to stars. The god was also seen as an important astronomer who taught the Aztecs how to create the solar calendar. It was through his guidance that the Aztecs managed to keep track of the days and months of the year, and to time their festivals and ceremonies. Quetzalcoatl was also one of the gods who helped the Aztecs to navigate through the afterlife. They believed that by following his guidance, they would ensure a safe passage to the afterlife. Quetzalcoatl was a god of great wisdom, intelligence and patience, and his teachings were a significant part of the Aztec way of life. Mythology has been an essential part of many cultures around the world. Mythical figures have served as symbols for virtues such as bravery, wisdom, and justice, and as warning signs against vices such as greed, envy, and hubris. Their stories have entertained, educated, and inspired generations of people. While some may see them as mere stories, others see them as more than that. They see them as reflections of the human experience, as allegories of our struggles and triumphs. And they remind us that despite our differences, we all share a common heritage of stories and beliefs. So, let's keep the legacy of mythology alive by exploring and appreciating these timeless tales.